This is American corn, the pride of Midwest farms and the backbone of U.S. agriculture. It once fed millions worldwide, powered ethanol plants and filled cargo ships heading to Asia and Europe. But now, it's being rejected at international borders, turned away like it's gone bad. Meanwhile, Canadian corn is landing billion-dollar deals and becoming the top choice for global buyers. So, what went wrong? Is it the chemicals in US corn, the tariffs, or the fact that buyers no longer trust what's inside the bag? Because in towns across Iowa, Illinois, and Nebraska, farmers aren't harvesting. Fields are being left to rot, grain silos are full, and factories are shutting down. Something strange is happening in the American corn industry, and it's starting to look serious. Corn has always been one of the biggest trends of US farming, grown in huge amounts and shipped around the globe. But now, it's being turned away at borders and buyers are quietly switching to Canada. While Canada is locking in billion-dollar deals with countries like Japan, South Korea, and Europe, American farmers in states like Iowa, Illinois, and Nebraska, Minnesota, Indiana, and Missouri are facing one of the toughest years in decades. There are multiple reasons why this is happening, and they go beyond just bad luck. It's tied to shifting trade policies, stricter rules from foreign buyers, and a new global preference for cleaner, more traceable crops. Even though the US exported 7.29 million metric tons of corn in May 2025, equaled 287 million bushels, that number, while 22.14% higher than the same time last year, was still 6.4% lower than in April. By the end of the year, U.S. corn exports reached 2.09 billion bushels, with cumulative sales hitting 2.213 billion bushels for the 2024-25 marketing year. But despite these large volumes, international buyers are rejecting U.S. corn at increasing rates. And that's causing major problems. In Iowa, where over 13 million acres grow corn, prices have dropped below $3.5 per bushel. Less than a cup of gas station coffee. For many farmers, harvesting isn't worth it anymore. The cost of fuel, storage, and labor is higher than what they'll earn, so the corn just stays in the field. Silos are already full, there is no room, and worse, there are no buyers. Processing plants are slowing down and operating only 2 or 3 days a week. Many workers are quitting agriculture altogether and doing gig jobs instead. In Illinois, things aren't better. Train cars once used to ship corn to ports are sitting still for weeks. Fertilizer costs have doubled, and loans now come with 9% interest, making it hard for farmers to keep going without selling land or tractors. Packing plants in Joliet have cut orders by 60%, and many workers have fewer shifts. Fuel for school buses is now so expensive that rural schools are moving classes online. In Nebraska, transport costs are out of control, and contracts with overseas buyers are being canceled. Many farmers aren't even planting with the hope of selling anymore. Instead, they are letting crops sit and trying to figure out what to do next. Local co-ops are filled with stressed-out farmers, and more of them are thinking of selling their farms. Gas stations and banks are closing or reducing hours, and some department stores have started selling second-hand items. The whole community is struggling to keep going. In Minnesota, farmers are still harvesting, but there's no place to store their corn and no one to buy it. Many co-ops have stopped buying completely. Schools are reporting more and more absences, not because of sickness, but because parents can't afford gas or lunches. Seed and fertilizer sales have dropped by over 60% because farmers are too worried to spend on the next planting season. Small towns in the area are feeling the pressure, and it's slowly wearing away the support systems people rely on. Indiana is facing similar issues. The sound of farming equipment has gone quiet because many farmers can't afford to run their machines. The cost of harvesting is higher than what the corn is worth, so fields are just being left alone. In Fort Wayne and Terre Haute, harvester factories have seen such a drop in orders that workers now rotate days off unofficially. Restaurants are staying closed for half the week because regular customers can't afford to eat out anymore. Agriculture and industry used to work side by side here, but now both are slipping, and it's creating a loop of lost income and shrinking activity. Missouri, once a strong part of the corn industry, is now seeing deep cracks in its role. Packing plant orders have dropped by 40%, and one factory outside Jefferson City has completely stopped its packaging line because there is simply no demand. Diesel revenue at bus stops has dropped more than 25%, showing just how much truck movement has slowed down. Roadside diners, which once stayed open round the clock for truckers, are now only open a few days each week. Night shift workers are now working extra hours just to cover basic needs. Missouri's position as a key link in the corn supply system is fading, and with it, the stability of the whole agricultural chain. The problem starts with what's inside the corn. International buyers, especially in Europe and Asia, are looking for very specific quality and sustainability rules. They are rejecting US corn more and more because of concerns about chemical residues, especially glyphosate, and inconsistent quality. These issues do not pass strict European or Asian standards. US systems for certification and traceability aren't giving foreign buyers the confidence they need, and that's putting shipments at risk. Then, there is the trade angle. Tariffs have added new layers of cost. China's 2025 move added a 15% tariff on corn, wheat, and chicken, along with a 10% tariff on soybeans, pork, beef, and fruit. This came after the US added new tariffs on Chinese goods. Mexico, another large buyer, took similar steps. Even though shipments in the current marketing year rose by 28.54% to 50.302 million metric tons, which is 1.98 billion bushels, that number is hiding the deeper issue. Lots of that corn isn't being accepted. Buyers don't want to risk getting something they can't use, and then there's politics. US trade is often tangled up with bigger political fights, making global buyers uneasy. Meanwhile, Canada has avoided those fights and focused on building long-term stable trade deals. That's helped Canada to step in as a steady supplier when the US has become unpredictable. Canada has also taken a different approach when it comes to what's in the corn itself. Canadian corn is now seen as high-end. Not because it's fancy, but because it follows strict rules. The crops are non-GMO, don't use glyphosate, and go through tight inspections to make sure the quality is consistent. Buyers in places like Japan, South Korea, and the European Union have taken notice. Canada has built trust with them by delivering clean corn every time, and that trust is part of long-term deals lasting 3 to 5 years with countries like Germany, Japan, South Korea, and the Netherlands. In Ontario, one cooperative signed a $1.2 billion deal to export corn to South Korea over 5 years. These deals don't just focus on pride, they build relationships. Canadian farmers also get serious support from their government, things like crop insurance for both price and yield, funding for inspections and transport, and direct help with international trade talks. That support gives farmers room to plan better, use technology, and stay ahead. They're now meeting European climate standards, cutting carbon emissions, and switching to more precise farming methods. All of that helps Canada win in markets that care about climate and sustainability. In the US, farmers are stuck in a much tougher spot. They're not sure if the next planting season will even be worth it. Many can't afford the changes needed to meet the new global expectations, and that's where things stop being just about corn. It's about what's happening in entire regions. Across the Midwest, foreclosures are up over 30% in just the last 6 months. More people in Iowa, Indiana, and Minnesota are now applying for food assistance. On Craigslist and local sale sites, listings for used tractors and other equipment have doubled. Farmers need the money, and they can't hold on. In rural schools, budgets are getting cut. Some can't afford fuel for buses or even air conditioning. That's forcing students to miss school or switch to online learning, not because of choice, but because schools can't afford to keep running. The livestock industry is facing serious trouble as corn prices continue to fall short of covering processing costs. Feed mills that depend on corn to produce animal feed are either cutting production or shutting their doors. This has led to higher feed prices and limited supply, leaving livestock farmers with tough choices. In places like North Platte, Nebraska, selling cattle and pigs has become a way to survive, not make profit. The strain is spreading, Missouri is seeing less corn on the move, which means lower diesel sales and fewer trucks on the road. As traffic slows down, so does business at roadside stores and eateries, where workers are now clocking in extra shifts just to keep their incomes steady. In smaller towns, the stress is even more visible. Families are shrinking their spending, a father out of work from an ethanol plant, a mother working short hours at a local grocery store, and kids who have had to put education on hold because the money isn't just there. Farmers talk about how their work used to be their pride, and now they're struggling with doubt. Across the Midwest, what was once a place of strength now feels like it's slipping away. Other countries are moving fast to take the lead. Brazil is using new farming technology to boost production and cut costs. Australia is getting attention for crops that meet cleaner, greener standards, which is a big deal for buyers who care about climate. Europe is pushing local support to buy less from outside, especially from the US. Markets that used to depend on US corn, like Japan and South Korea, are turning to more stable partners like Canada. In 2024, Canada exported $2.8 billion worth of corn to Japan, partly because China's exports dropped by 80%. China has also backed away from buying US soybeans and corn. In 2022, soybean shipments from the US to China were worth $17.9 billion. But that number has dropped due to new tariffs and China's shift to different suppliers. Lately, China has been buying 400,000 to 500,000 metric tons of wheat from Canada and Australia to help with its own crop shortages. In 2024, China's wheat imports hit 11 million tons, valued at $3.5 billion, and most of it came from Canada and Australia. Meanwhile, the US Department of Agriculture's June 2025 report shows more signs of stress. Corn acreage still tops the charts at 15.82 billion bushels, the highest since 2013. But corn supplies as of June 1st have dropped to 4.644 billion bushels, 7.1% lower than the year before. Soybeans, on the other hand, are piling up. Stock levels have reached 1.008 billion bushels, 3.9% higher than 2024 and more than expected. That points to an oversupply problem. US farmers are feeling stuck between too much product and not enough global demand. Agricultural policies haven't kept up with how fast things are changing. Canada helps its farmers through crop insurance, food inspections, transport support, and international trade negotiations. US farmers don't have that same safety net. They often rely on short-term contracts that change without warning. Without long-term trade deals, they are left open to sudden price swings and unexpected losses. Infrastructure adds more problems. Train cars are sitting still, silos are full, packing plants are working less, every step in the system is slowing down. On the other hand, Canada has focused on making their supply chain more efficient. Their farms and products meet international expectations for tracking and environmental safety. That's helped them become a favorite for global buyers. In 2024, 2/3 of Canada's canola seed exports went to China, and 95% of canola oil exports went to the US. This wide spread of buyers keeps Canada balanced. The US, though, has been hit hard in key markets like China and Mexico, where trade fights and new rules have pushed buyers away. The ongoing trouble with US corn exports is a serious red flag for the entire farming system. To stay competitive, there is an urgent need to shift toward cleaner, non-GMO corn that meets the strict demands of buyers in places like the European Union and Asia. It's not just about the corn. Markets now expect strong traceability and certification systems to prove quality and origin. Farming practices also need to change, with fewer chemicals, better soil care, and climate-friendly methods. But farmers can't do it alone. They need real support, crop insurance, fair subsidies, and help with global trade deals. What are your views on this? Do let us know about your views in the comment section below, and for more such amazing videos, do subscribe to our channel.